Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Roschon Johnson is happening. Roschon Johnson's happening. I know he's on a bye this week, but we got to talk about him. We got to talk about Roschon. It's been a while since he played. It's going to be a while before he plays again. But he's happening. I pounded the table for Roschon Johnson all summer long. I kept the fire burning all season. It was about to happen. Remember back in like week 3? He got to just about 50-50 split with Khalil Herbert. And then Khalil Herbert got hot, so they went with the hot hand, right? And then Khalil Herbert got hurt. In the same freaking game, Roschon Johnson suffered concussion. A concussion that knocked him out for 3 weeks? And Deontay Foreman came in, the veteran, how teams are. Teams like the Bears, they love these veteran, boring, straightforward, gets what's blocked type of players. They just want to pound it with those types of guys. Roschon, week 12, he happened. Khalil Herbert got relegated to the bench. Roschon Johnson played 74% of the snaps. Pretty much 3 out of every 4 snaps, Roschon Johnson was running back on the field for the Bears. His previous season high was 45%, and that was back in that week 3 game when he was so close to taking over that job before the things just went downhill for him in the middle of the season. He had 10 carries, and he had a 13.5% target share. It's happening. It is happening. I'm so excited. I hate that we're losing the momentum of it with the bye week. I expect coming out of the bye for the Bears, Roschon Johnson is going to be established as the bell cow running back in that backfield. I don't care about Deontay Foreman. I don't care about Khalil Herbert. This is an all-purpose running back with an all-purpose skill set. The dude, they clearly trust him in pass protection. Did you see that play? On Monday night against the Bears? 2 guys in one block. Roschon Johnson took them both. 2 linebackers blitzing up the middle. Unblocked. Roschon steps up, takes them both out. And that's what's going to get him and keep him on the field, those types of plays. That's what the coaches love. If a guy can get in there and pass protect, and defenses, they don't need to be like when Deontay Foreman's in the backfield, defenses know they're running the ball. When Khalil Herbert's in the backfield, defenses know they're running the ball. If you put a little scat back there, I think Travis Homer is on that roster. I think he's probably injured, but we'll just use him as an example. Pass catching specialist type of running back. You put him in that backfield, they're going to throw the ball. You put Roschon Johnson in that backfield, you have no idea what's coming. He's a good runner between the tackles. He's got speed and athleticism. He's got size. He's got pass protection skills. One of the best pass protecting running backs to come out of college in a long, long time. And he can catch the ball in that backfield. He can run routes. This is an all-purpose running back. Why wouldn't they establish Roschon as the guy in that backfield? We saw it in week 12. We're going to see it rest of season. I'm so excited about that. I am so excited about that. Just chalk up another W. Just another W on my chalkboard for this season. Another good one. Another good take. Been a great year. But what we're doing tonight, we're going to do what we usually do on Saturday nights, not Sunday, Saturday nights. I'm just going to go through the rankings. It's the eve before week 13. We're going to stress test the rankings, go through the running backs, go through the wide receivers, and, we'll have a conversation. Me and you, we're going to go through, we're going to rank them through tiers. And like I say every week, just about every week, we make a change in the rankings live on the air. And you'll see that reflected right in the rankings, yardsforfantasy.com within minutes. I update it right here live on the air. You'll be able to see and follow along with that if we do make any changes. And And of course, we'll be answering start sit questions all throughout the show. So drop those in the comments right now. We'll get to them. We'll rank a few guys and we'll take a break and talk some questions. Rank a few guys, take a break, talk some questions. You get the gist of it. And we will not have breaking news. Breaking news. There's not going to be a Sunday morning show tomorrow, unfortunately. I think it's the first time I've missed one since week 2. I think we've been here every Sunday morning. Unfortunately, we're not going to have one this week, but should be good for the rest of the season after that. All right, let's just get to these rankings. We'll start with the running backs like we usually do. Let's grab this question from Donald real quick. Locked up a first-round bye. Congratulations. Awesome. Love to see it. Do I hold Justin Tucker on a bye or do I add Roschon? Love Justin Tucker. Started him all year. I mean, I'm definitely trying to pick up Roschon because you might use him. I mean, I'd rather have a running back than a kicker. But I mean, Justin Tucker's a damn good kicker to have. Now, to be fair, I don't play in any leagues that have kickers. So I'm not the best to ask kicker questions to, unfortunately. Definitely a weak spot in my game for sure. I mean, for me, I would say yes. But I love Roschon so much. You gotta go get him. I would do that. If there's somebody else you can drop, like your 6th wide receiver, wide receiver on your bench that you're never gonna play, that's who I would drop. Because definitely Justin Tucker's probably a difference maker for you. But I think Roschon could be one as well. All right, let's pull up the rankings. Gotta change this real quick so you can see my beautiful face when the rankings come up. All right, so I'm gonna share the screen. Click the right buttons, Alex. Click the right buttons. Here we go. Share screen. All right, here we go. Don't mind me. All right. Here we go. They're coming up. All right, so we're going to start with the running backs. Running backs, always easy, except for last week when we had Christian McCaffrey on a bye week, right? Christian McCaffrey just the auto number 1 in the stud tier at the top all by himself. So that one's a pretty easy one. Drag him up here. Don't really need to talk about Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be an awesome game tomorrow, man. That's going to be an awesome game tomorrow. I can't wait for it. Cannot wait for that game. Eagles, 49ers. Who you guys got? I have no idea who to pick. I think the Eagles are going to pull it out, though. I really do. I think the Eagles are going to pull it out. Let's get this question. Redraft. Would you start Amari Cooper, Jahan Dotson, or Josh Downs in the flex? I'm going to go Josh Downs. Amari Cooper playing with what is 10th quarterback of the year, Joe Flacco. I have zero confidence in Joe Flacco getting the football to Amari Cooper, though I'm probably a little bit more confident than maybe like a PJ Walker. But not a lot of confidence in Joe Flacco tomorrow. Dotson, as long as Curtis Samuel is on the field, John Dotson can't do shit. And Josh Downs, man. Josh Downs is kind of a target hog at this point. I think he had double-digit targets last week in the same game that Michael Pittman also had double-digit targets. Jonathan Taylor's out, so they might lean on the passing game a little bit more. Josh Downs definitely gives you the highest ceiling and probably the highest floor of those 3 guys. Definitely gonna play Josh Downs there. It's up to me. All right, next running back is going to be Alvin Kamara. We still don't have a definitive word on. Why is he not on this list? I was told they were in alphabetical order. Where is it? Here we go, right here. Still don't have a definitive word on Chris Olave, whether he's going to play or not, but I believe he did have full participation in practice at one point this week. So that's a great sign. Still not officially cleared yet, but I think there's a real good possibility that Chris Olave does play. However, if he doesn't, It is full wheels up for Alvin Kamara. Because they're also, remember, they're already without Michael Thomas. They're going to be without Rashid Shaheed. He is out. There's nothing else in that passing game. They were playing Lynn Bowden. You remember Lynn Bowden from a few years ago? Out of what, Kentucky? He was like a quarterback / wide receiver / running back. He did everything. All-purpose guy. He can do everything pretty good, but he does nothing actually good. So I think it's going to be a lot of targets. They're going to be playing from behind against the Lions. Lots of targets, just check down to Alvin Kamara. And they're going to lean on the run game as well if they can. If the game's close enough, at least early on. Then we get Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, a little bit of a what was the injury for him? I don't know what the injury was. A little bit of something popped up, but he's good to go. He's good to go for Monday night against the Bengals. So Travis Etienne, he's been quiet lately, a little inefficient. Just not getting the touchdowns. Remember, he had that stretch where he was scoring multiple touchdowns every single week. That's kind of gone away, which, as you expect would happen. Touchdown luck and regression and all that stuff just kind of swings throughout the season. But I do like Travis Etienne this week. And then we have the return of Tony Pollard. He's back. Just when we were out, he's back. Remember a couple weeks ago, Giants game, he did nothing. I was like, this is the game. If he doesn't produce in this game, it's over. It's over. And he didn't produce. And it was over. And then the next week he starts producing. Like, what the hell? He's been a headache this year, but he's back. He looks better, man. He looks better. I don't know if we were just underrating the impact of that ankle / leg surgery he had in January, something after the playoff game. Just the impact of that just maybe took some explosiveness away from him. A little bit of maybe they just weren't using him properly. They're trying to bang him into the middle of the offensive line where he's more of a, get in space, get to the edge type of guy. And I don't know, but he looks better. He looks explosive. And he's scoring touchdowns. Finally. He scored a touchdown in 3 straight games now after not scoring since week 1. So Tony Pollard's back, and he's back in the top 5 rankings. Actually, I don't even know why we're ranking him because he already played. What the hell? I was just so excited to talk about Tony Pollard. So I'm looking at my rankings. I had Tony Pollard as the RB4 for the week. He already played. What a waste. What a waste of time. But it's still fun to celebrate Tony Pollard being back. How about Jahmyr Gibbs, though? Jahmyr Gibbs is the next running back on the list. Dave Montgomery is officially game script dependent. Last week, we saw the Lions trailing from behind from the beginning of the game. Pretty much we haven't seen all year long them trailing like that. Jahmyr Gibbs played 71% of the snaps. And Dave Montgomery was relegated to 27%. Now, I know he had the 15 carries and he had 71 yards and he got in the end zone. But it's a little bit scary. A little bit scary for anybody who's rostering David Montgomery. And it's great for Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, of course, the Lions are pretty damn good. And they are going to be leading, or at least in neutral game scripts, more often than not. So it's not going to be that wide of a split. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a must start every single week at this point. Catching passes, taking carries, getting work in the red zone way more than we were expecting. So if you drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, it was a rough start to the year, but he got his opportunity when Dave Montgomery went down and hasn't turned back since. So he's been great. Rachaad White also has been great. Rachaad White, one of my favorite running backs to draft this year. I put it out a tweet that got trashed, laughed at, trolled in August, beginning of August. I put out a tweet. It said, why draft Bijan Robinson in round 1 when you can draft Rachaad White in round 7? I got laughed off the stage. with that tweet. Yeah, here we are. I think we're feeling pretty good if we drafted Rachaad White in round 7. Pretty good. And pretty good if we passed on Bijan Robinson in round 1. But we'll get to him in a few minutes. Actually, we'll get to him next. He's the next running back on the list. He's the RB7 for the week for me. Now, while I was telling you not to draft Bijan Robinson in the first round, I have been saying for about a month now it's time to go buy low on Bijan Robinson. I hope you did, because the role is coming. It's happening. We've seen it every single week. Seen it every week. Arthur Smith in his little laboratory, with his little lab coat on and his evil smile, cranking up the dials on Bijan Robinson's usage just a little bit every week. It's happening. He's getting work in the red zone, catching passes. He had a 30% target share last week, which is his highest target share since all the way back in week 1. So if we're getting more rushes between the tackles, we're getting more red zone opportunities, we're getting more work in the passing game. Great playoff schedule for Bijan Robinson. He is going to be a league winner. A league winner. Told you not to draft him. That was great advice. Told you to go trade for him. That's looking fantastic as well. Yeah. Let's get a couple more questions if we have any. Yeah, Olave. This is from Donald. Olave looked, man, it was finally happening. All those air yards that he was getting for the whole season, every single week. It's like Chris Olave, top 10 in air yards. Chris Olave, top 5 in air yards, but he's only got like 45 actual yards. Well, finally in week 12, the air yards were turning into actual yards. It was happening. And then he got a concussion. The dude was on his way to like a 200-yard receiving game, and he got a concussion. But good news is I think he is going to play. I think he's going to get cleared in time based on his practice reports this week. RB8. Now, this is a guy I'm celebrating Rachaad White, celebrating Bijan Robinson, victory lapping my takes on those guys. Somebody I've been consistently wrong about all season long is Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams he's kind of a crazy case. He's kind of baffling a little bit to me. He's small. He's not athletic. And yet he is dominating. He's dominating that backfield. Now, Royce Freeman also ran for like 80 yards and a touchdown last week. So a little bit is the offense. But Kyren Williams, man, give him credit. Give him credit. I keep doubting him. I keep calling him a jag. And yet he keeps, shoving that right in my face because he's looking good. So at this point, we got to rank him as a top 10 running back every single week. He does have a tough matchup going against the Browns, but I think he'll get there for us. We got Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler has been not very good. He just doesn't look right out there. He looks like he's a small, undersized running back who is 28 years old and is starting to have a conversation with Father Time. Father Time came to visit Austin Eckler and said, "Time's running out, buddy. Time's running out." He looks slow. He looks sluggish. Just doesn't look like the same guy out there. Which is really unfortunate because with no Mike Williams, no Josh Palmer, it's only Keenan Allen in that passing game. This could have been such a great Austin Eckler spot for him to just get targeted every single week at a high rate. It's really not happening. So, but still going to rank him in the top 10 with 6 teams on a bye this week. They're still giving him enough of a role. He's still the goal line guy. He's not coming off the field. So still going to rank Austin Eckler inside the top 10 for this week. Rounding out the top 10 for me is Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be without Jerick McKinnon again this week, which is great news because Isaiah Pacheco got really, really used quite a bit in the passing game last week, which he's been getting more usage in the passing game than expected this year already as it is. But then with McKinnon out, that got cranked up even more. So that's been great to see from him. So keep playing Isaiah Pacheco. RB11 for the week is Derrick Henry. Just it's been a rough year for Derrick Henry. Been a rough year for that entire Titans offense, but are we really surprised? No, we can't be. We can't be surprised. We knew coming into the season that was the worst offensive line in football. We knew the passing game was going to be disgusting. No weapons outside of DeAndre Hopkins. Terrible quarterback play. It's just going to be really hard for a 29-year-old Derrick Henry to hurdle all those obstacles like he's done in the past. It's just he's gotten to the point where he can't do it all on his own. You have that bad of an offensive line, that inefficient of an offense that's not getting to the goal line for him to punch in touchdowns, and you don't catch passes. He's coming off the field constantly for Tajay Spears. About 50% of his games, he's been outsnapped by Tajay Spears because they're playing from behind, and they're putting Spears in passing situations. So it's been a rough year for Derrick Henry. Again, the only reason he's in the top 12 this week is because we have 6 teams on a bye, and he does have a really good matchup against Colts. Colts, I'll give you that. He does have a good matchup. I think I can't remember. Derrick Henry had a pretty decent game last week, if I remember correctly, right? I said last week, if you were ever going to play him at this point in the season, it was going to be against the Panthers, who have been terrible against the run. Yeah, he had 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So we were right about that. I do think that we can feel semi-comfortable playing him again this week, going against the Colts. That defense is pretty susceptible. But game script might not be there the way it was against the Panthers, unfortunately. Then we'll get to RB12, which is DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is another guy who's just getting there. He's got a good workload, getting involved in the passing game, get some goal line work. He looked really good last week. I think this is going to be, like I said, it's going to be a really fun game. 49ers and Eagles. It's going to be really fun. So DeAndre Swift rounds out the top 12. Let's get to Chucks. Chucks is a friend of the show. I've seen him in our chat before, my chat, in Coach Bruce and Brett's chat with the coach approach. So we appreciate Chucks. PPR, in terms of starts, who would be your top 3 between Amari Cooper, Curtis Samuel, James Conner, and Rashee Rice? It's a really tough one because a couple of these guys feel pretty gross at this point. Amari Cooper, can't trust him. Just the quarterback play, man. The quarterback play. I mean, Joe Flacco's still in the game. He's still playing off the practice squad, off the couch. We're going to trust Joe Flacco to get the ball to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is one of these guys who needs like a perfect environment. He needs to be fully healthy. He needs a perfect matchup. He needs to be at home in order to deliver a usable week for us. I'm not excited to play Amari Cooper. Curtis Samuel, I'm pretty excited to play. He's explosive. He had, 12 targets last week. Commanders, why can I not remember who they are playing? They are playing the Dolphins. Oh, yeah. That's going to be a shootout game. Well, the Dolphins are going to put up so many points. This could be another 70-pointer going against the Commanders. Dolphins could have 2 games of 70 points this year going against Washington, which means that Sam Howell is going to have to throw the ball quite a bit playing from behind, right? That could mean a really nice Curtis Samuel day. So out of all these guys, I'm probably feeling the most comfortable playing Curtis Samuel. It's wild. If you look at Sam Howell, he's been like a top 6, top 7 quarterback this year in terms of fantasy points. None of his wide receivers are getting there. None of his wide receivers are highly ranked. It's so strange. So strange. And we're adding Deontay Johnson to this list as well. Another guy that I am not excited to play at all. Now, we did see the Steelers offense come to life last week, which was great to see. First game without Matt Canada. Shocker, right? That they had their best yardage performance, at least, in years. In the first game without Matt Canada, that was kind of hilarious. Like, what the hell took you so long? It's just, it's going to be a tangent for a second, but it's maddening that we, as fantasy football gamers, fantasy football analysts, everybody on Twitter is like, hello, this coach sucks. This guy sucks. Get him out of there. But these actual people who NFL teams are paying to make these decisions don't see it. They don't see it. And it takes them years for them to finally come to the realization like, hey, maybe this coach sucks. Maybe we should fire him, when we have been saying it every single year. It's wild, man. Like, they're just like in a box. They don't see anything. It's very frustrating. Even the good coaches like a Mike Tomlin, he's in a box. Just maddening. Anyway, I don't love playing Deontay Johnson. It's a big Pat Freiermuth game. I have Deontay ranked as my my wide receiver 28. He has a decent matchup, but I'm going to play Curtis Samuel. So we're playing, 3 of these guys? Curtis Samuel. I think we're going to play Rashee Rice. And I guess maybe we play Deontay Johnson, because I'm worried about James Conner. And we're going to get to him in these running back rankings in a few minutes, but I'm worried about James Conner. His snap share dropped big time last week, down to 42%. And it's just, the role is just not there. He's not getting the massive volume that we're used to seeing from him, right? So I don't feel super great playing James Conner. So I'm going to go Curtis Samuel. I'm going to go Rashee Rice. And then it comes down to Deontay or James Conner playing against each other. James Conner, could we get our James Conner revenge game going against the Steelers? Probably not. PPR. I think we got to play James Conner. I think we're going to play James Conner over Deontay Johnson. I don't love it, but I think we're going to play Conner. Anyway, way too long on that question. A couple tangents. I'll do that. Let's get this one from Royer. Start 2, non-PPR, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Reed, T. Higgins, or Josh Downs. Starting 2 of these guys. We're going to play... I really want to play Josh Downs, but it's hard to start him over DeAndre Hopkins and Terry McLaurin. Pull up the wide receiver rankings real quick here. So I have DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 22. I have Josh Downs, wide receiver 25, 1 spot ahead of Terry McLaurin. So I'm going to play Hopkins and I'm going to play Downs. Although Terry McLaurin going against the Dolphins, if you're ever going to play him, if you're ever going to play Terry McLaurin, this is the week, man. This is the week. I might play him. Man, Hopkins going against the Colts is exciting. Downs against the Titans is exciting. Terry McLaurin against the Dolphins is kind of exciting. You know what? Yeah. That one's a tough one. I hate it. I have them all 3 so close together. I think we have to go... I think we got to lean with the quarterback play, right? We got to lean with the quarterback play, which means we're going to put DeAndre Hopkins on the bench. We're going to play Josh Downs. We're going to play Terry McLaurin over DeAndre Hopkins. I'm actually going to adjust the rankings accordingly as we are doing this. Got to play Terry McLaurin this week. Going against the Dolphins, it's going to be a shootout. Sam Howell's been playing so great. I know McLaurin hasn't really gotten there for us many times, but this is going to be the week, right? I do like Hopkins this week, but tiebreaker we'll give to the better quarterback, and that's Sam Howell. It's Sam Howell. All right. Let's get back to these rankings, and then we'll get to some more questions. Where did we leave off? We left off at DeAndre Swift, which is the RB12. That gives us Dave Montgomery, who, like we talked about with Jahmyr Gibbs, is trending down. He is now officially game script dependent. But they're playing against the Saints, so they should have a very positive game script. So this could be a pretty solid Dave Montgomery game. So he's still a top 15 running back for us. Then we get Devon Achane. Devon Achane is back going against the Commanders. Commanders are a terrible defense. Now, obviously, we have a major risk with Devon Achane. Because he's coming off that knee injury after he re-aggravated the knee injury the last time he tried to play. But it's still Devon Achane. He's fastest, most explosive running back in the NFL. Great offense. They're going to score a lot of points in that game. This could be a little reminiscent of that Broncos game earlier in the season. I don't actually think they're going to score 70 points again, but man, they're going to get close. I think this could be a 50-pointer for the Dolphins. So I definitely want to play Achane if I can. Then we're going to get to Ramondre Stevenson to round out the top 15 running backs. His offense, the only player left in the Patriots offense is Ramondre Stevenson. Now, they didn't have much to begin with, but now with Demario Douglas out with a concussion, it's Ramondre or bust at this point in that Patriots offense. They're going to play Bailey Zappi at quarterback. I think they're going to mix in. We're going to get a little glimpse at Malik Cunningham. He's going to mix in. He's going to have some packages in that Patriots offense at quarterback. I'm excited to see that. And I think we could get at least one or two Malik Cunningham starts by the end of the season. So RB16 is going to be Breece Hall. He's got a good matchup, but he's in a terrible offense. It sucks. It sucks because he's so freaking good, man. He's so good in every aspect of the game. One of the most explosive, one of the most athletic, versatile running backs in the NFL, being wasted on an awful Jets offense. Terrible quarterback, terrible offensive line. It's so frustrating. Even in a great matchup against the Falcons, we can't feel 100% confident in playing Breece Hall. Like, we have 15 guys ranked ahead of him. It's so annoying. Devin Singletary. Could probably get Devin Singletary higher than this. But I want to see one more week with Dameon Pierce back. But Devin Singletary still played about 80% of the snaps last week. Even with Dameon Pierce back on the field. I do expect that's going to continue now. There's a little risk that second game back for Pierce, maybe they ramp him up a little bit, but I think this is the Devin Singletary show at this point. So we're going to roll with him. He's pretty much a top 18 running back rest of the season. He's got a good offense. He's got a great role. Keep playing Devin Singletary. He's not on this list, unfortunately, to drag his picture up into the ranking tier, but we'll pretend he's there. He's right here, Devin Singletary. You're in our hearts. RB17. And then Zach Moss. Zach Moss, man. He's back. Zach Moss is back. Now, Zach Moss is another guy who I've been completely wrong about this year. Just like Kyron Williams, I've repeatedly called Zach Moss just a guy, and I still fully believe that. But man, he's playing good football. Running behind a pretty good Colts offensive line. The Colts offense has exceeded expectations across the board. So we're going to keep playing Zach Moss. RB19 for the week. And then we get Najee Harris, who's the RB20. Najee looked pretty good last week in a recovering Steelers offense post Matt Canada. All right, so that rounds up the rounds out the top 20. We'll just go rapid fire here for the next 5 or so guys. After Najee Harris, I got Raheem Mostert, Jerome Ford, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren, James Conner, Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard, Joe Mixon, A.J. Dillon, Royce Freeman. That rounds up the top 30 running backs for Week 13. If you have any questions, we'll get to those, and then we're going to move on to the wide receivers. Let's get this one from Silver, Kyler Murray or Derek Carr. I'm playing Kyler Murray. I'm going to play Kyler Murray. He's a dual threat. We're going to keep playing him. Breece Hall or Chris Olave if he plays. I think we're going to go Chris Olave. Chris Olave. He was happening last week. Let's assume he's playing. I think they're going to pick up right up where he left off and just keep feeding Chris Olave. Let's go with Olave. All right, Dame Walker, welcome back to the show. Good to see you in here. As always, do you like T. Higgins or Curtis Samuel this week? Fucking hate Higgins. I mean, Higgins situation has come to this, and I'm a Bengals fan. Yeah, I think we talked about Higgins. Did we talk about Higgins last week? We pretty much declared him dead. I still feel that way. He is going to play against the Jaguars, but I don't have much confidence in T. Higgins being a consistent, reliable option for us in a Jake Browning offense. So I do like Curtis Samuel a lot this week. I think Curtis Samuel could really, really have a nice game going against the Dolphins. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton to keep up with that offense against their own terrible defense. So yeah, I do like Curtis Samuel this week. I have Curtis Samuel ranked as my wide receiver 38. So he's a low-end wide receiver 3. I'm actually going to move him up here because I don't like where I have him. I like him more than where I have him ranked here. He's actually going to get, for me, he's going to get up to wide receiver 32, right behind Rashee Rice. So yeah, we're playing Curtis Samuel this week for sure. He's a mid-tier wide receiver 3. There's obviously some risk with a Curtis Samuel that, it ends up being a Terry McLaurin game, or ends up being a Logan Thomas game, or ends up being a Jahan Dotson game. But I do like Curtis Samuel a lot this week. If I have him as a possible streaming option and I need a flex play or a wide receiver 3 or something, he's one of my favorite starts, one of my favorite streamers for this week. Yes, over T. Higgins, who I have ranked as my wide receiver 39, which, that hurts, man. It hurts. I'm a big T. Higgins fan, but it's not going to happen this year. Luka Magic, welcome back to the show. Lost Aaron Jones and Kenneth Walker, half PPR start 1. Freiermuth or Noah Brown? I don't know if we have a full go on Noah Brown yet. I haven't seen that. I'm not 100% sure that he's playing because I think he had, I want to say he had a full practice, but then he didn't practice again on Friday. I can't remember what the news was, but I think he missed practice on Friday, so he's not a full go. So I'm going to play Pat Freiermuth. Jared Goff for CJ Stroud. I'm going to play CJ Stroud. We got to keep rolling with him. Keep rolling with Stroud. I traded Kyler Murray and Josh Jacobs for Austin Eckler in a PPR league, and my other running backs are Gibbs, Connor, and Spears. My quarterbacks left are Mahomes and Fields. I traded Kyler and Jacobs for Eckler. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the Kyler and Jacobs side, to be honest. I know we talked about Eckler earlier. Eckler just seems to have lost a step, unfortunately. And Jacobs, the Raiders are pretty locked in on giving Jacobs a pretty heavy workload, and Kyler gives you that nice dual threat quarterback. Now, you don't need Kyler if you have Mahomes and Fields, so I'll give you credit for that. But I think I'd rather have Jacobs than Austin Eckler at this point. It's very close, at least. I don't hate the deal, but I don't love it either. Now, if you needed to win this week if you need Eckler, because Jacob's on a bye, right? So if you need Eckler to play this week, then I think that maybe is the tiebreaker that swings that trade in your direction. But otherwise, I do like the Jacobs side better. Ramondre Stevenson or Tank Dell, half PPL, half PPR. I'm going to go Tank Dell here. We're going to keep riding the hot hand. He is going to play. He's good to go. We're going to keep riding Tank Dell. I'd rather have the guy who's getting a ton of targets, making explosive plays, scoring touchdowns in an explosive offense with a good quarterback than a guy who is stuck in an awful offense like a Ramondre Stevenson. I don't care about the volume. He's just in a terrible offense. So give me Dell. All right. Let's switch over to the wide receivers. Share this screen instead. All right. Okay. Receivers. Let's see. Just give this laptop is ancient. Give it a minute to kind of collect itself here. But I will start talking about wide receiver 1, Tyreek Hill. Right? Easy. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 1. Pretty simple, straightforward there. Going against the Commanders, this dude, Tyreek Hill is on pace for 2,000 receiving yards for the season. He could have 2,000 receiving yards just tomorrow against the Commanders. That's how bad their secondary is and how great Tyreek Hill has been playing all season long. So keep playing Tyreek Hill. He's wide receiver 1. Let me find him in this list and drag him up to the top. And then after Tyreek Hill, obviously, CeeDee Lamb has already played for the week, so we don't have to rank him. But that's A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been fantastic this year. They're going to have to rely on him quite heavily. Going against the 49ers, they're going to have to score a lot of points in that game. It's going to be a fun game. Really looking forward to that one. Then we got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Consistent target magnet every single week. Just going to keep peppering him with targets. Then we got Keenan Allen. You can say the same thing about Keenan Allen. Just pepper with targets. Massive target volume right now for Keenan Allen. And they've got no other options in the passing game. Complete bust in Quentin Johnston and wide receiver out of the first round. So lock in Keenan Allen as a weekly top 5 wide receiver until further notice. Even against the Patriots in a game that could be kind of gross, kind of low scoring, because their offense doesn't present any threat whatsoever. So the Chargers, there is a chance that the Chargers just play it safe and just keep the ball on the ground, and But I think Keenan Allen will still get there for us. Then we got Mike Evans. Mike Evans, remember his huge, massive game that he had last year at the end of the season? I think it was week 17. He scored 3 touchdowns. Pretty sure that came against the Panthers. I think that's the last time he played the Panthers. And he went off in that huge, massive game. And he's been nothing but great ever since. He picked up right where he left off. Having a fantastic season. Keep playing Mike Evans. Look at Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is going to continue to get there even with Jake Browning. I'm not worried about him. We're worried about T. Higgins. But we have a backup quarterback who steps in, and we have an elite alpha target hog wide receiver. Maybe the elite ceiling is gone for Jamar Chase, but he's going to continue to get a ton of volume, even if the efficiency is down. Keep playing Jamar Chase confidently as a wide receiver 1 every single week. And my wide receiver 8 is Michael Pittman. It's a guy. He's had double-digit targets in like 60% of his games this year. It's been a fantastic season for Michael Pittman. We were a little bit worried about him, with a rookie quarterback. Obviously, we don't have to deal with that anymore. Gardner Minshew's been playing well. He's throwing the ball quite a bit. They're letting him throw the ball. And it's really benefiting Michael Pittman. He's a true alpha wide receiver in that offense. Brandon Ayuk, is my wide receiver 9. He's been kind of a roller coaster up and down. It's just like, who's going to get there for us in the 49ers offense week to week? We know Christian McCaffrey every single week is going to give us a stud performance. After that, though, some weeks is Brandon Ayuk, some weeks is Tebow Samuel, some weeks is George Kittle. There have been a few where they've all gotten there somehow, but I do like this matchup going against the Eagles. The Eagles have been one of the worst defenses against wide receivers as far as fantasy production goes. So we could see a nice game from Brandon Ayuk. Especially Christian McCaffrey might have a little bit of trouble running against that Philadelphia front seven. So maybe we'll lean on a guy like Brandon Ayuk a little bit more. And then Jalen Waddle. If we like Tyreek Hill going against the Commanders, we got to like Jalen Waddle going against the Commanders as well. It's going to be, if you have any Dolphins, you better play them. You better play them. This is Broncos 2.0. Broncos 2.0 this week. Remember 70 points against the Broncos earlier in the season? And I don't know if it's going to be 70, but they could get to 50. They can get to 50. I'm telling you, they're going to get to 50. Play Jalen Waddle, top 10 wide receiver this week. And we talked about Tank Dell already a couple minutes ago. We're playing him over Ramondre Stevenson. We're playing him against just about every wide receiver in the league other than these top 10 guys. He is a wide receiver 1 for week 13. Part of that is the 6 bye weeks, but Tank Dell's been fantastic. He's been so good. I know he's got a little bit of an injury, but he's good to go. Great matchup against the Broncos. And we got Devontae Smith. So just back to Tank Dell for a second. I think we'll see Nico Collins is going to get the majority of the Patrick Surtain coverage. So we don't have to worry about that for Tank Dell too much. Wide receiver 12 is Devontae Smith. Devontae has been really, really coming on lately. I think a big part of that is Dallas Goedert being out. That has definitely played in Devontae Smith's favor. His numbers are definitely better with Dallas Goedert out. So keep playing Devontae Smith confidently. And I think even when Goddard comes back, we can continue to confidently play Devontae Smith, as a top 16 wide receiver or so. And we got Chris Olave, who we've already talked about as well. We're not 100% sure that he's going to play, but I think things are looking pretty good for him to clear concussion protocol first thing Sunday morning. I think he'll be good to go. My wide receiver 14 is Garrett Wilson. Just frustrating, man. Garrett Wilson has been frustrating. He's so good. He is so good. That's been evident all season long. He is elite. He's an elite wide receiver, and that's the only reason why he's continuing to produce at a modest level at least. But the quarterback play is just bad. Tim Boyle. I always want to call him Doyle, but it's Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is one of the worst college quarterbacks who ever made it in the NFL, and he's been terrible in the NFL. He's worse than Zach Wilson. And it's pretty bad when you're worse than Zach Wilson. Brutal, absolutely brutal. And speaking of brutal, Cooper Kupp, you're looking at his game logs over the last month. That has been brutal. I don't think he scored double-digit points in fantasy football in a month. It's been awful. And now he's got the Browns defense who's been playing lights out pretty much all year long. And Matthew Stafford, he's been healthy all year, other than that little thumb injury for a couple of weeks, but he's played well. Yeah, it's been really, really, really bad. Cooper Kupp. I'm trying to look at the game log, but it's not working. It's all right. Yes, but it's still Cooper Kupp. We got to keep playing him. I mean, at some point, this continues. We're going to have to stop playing him, but I'm still playing him as a top 18 wide receiver for another week or two at least. Because it is Cooper Kupp, and we know he can go off at any time. Speaking of going off at any time, Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel coming off a big game. He could have another one going against the Eagles. Christian Kirk starting to maybe swing back the other way. I'm going to play, and this might be the last week we're able to rank Christian Kirk ahead of Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley has been trending up. So I'm going to keep playing Christian Kirk because for the majority of the season, it's been the Christian Kirk show in that offense. And I do think he's going to get his game at some point here in the next week or two. He's going to have a game like he had earlier in the year. So I'm going to keep playing Christian Kirk, but he is falling down the rankings for sure. And then we talked about Nico Collins. He's going to see probably a pretty good amount of Patrick Surtain. But man, CJ Stroud is just playing so good. He's just playing so good. You got to keep playing Nico Collins as well. And we just talked about Calvin Ridley. He's been playing awesome over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So keep playing Calvin Ridley as a top 20 wide receiver. And we'll round out the top 20 with Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua has also been trending down just like Cooper Kupp. And I have less confidence that Puka Nacua is going to reemerge. The first month and a half of the season was outplaying himself a little bit. Let's be honest. He was outplaying himself. No, he's not that good. I don't think he's not the wide receiver that he was showing in the first month and a half of the season. I was mind blown with how well he was playing. Now I don't think he's a bad wide receiver. I did, but I don't anymore. It's pretty evident that he is pretty damn good. But I don't think he's the elite guy that he was showing early in the season. So, but with that said, we have seen enough from Puka Nacua this year that we got to keep playing him as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy football, at least for the next few weeks. If this continues to trend down, once we get to the fantasy playoffs, you might start to think about, keeping him on your bench. But at this point, give him another week or two. Keep playing Puka Nacua. Let's just go rapid fire for the next handful of wide receivers. Adam Thielen, he is trending down as well. Courtland Sutton has been as consistent as anybody. Terry McLaurin, we talked about earlier. We got to play Terry McLaurin this week. I might even move him up even higher. Going against the Dolphins, he's got to be higher. We got to keep moving him up the rankings. I think we move him ahead of Puka Nacua, right at wide receiver 20 between Calvin Ridley and Puka Nacua. There's Josh Downs, DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, Deontay Johnson, Jaden Reed has been hot lately. Rashee Rice, Curtis Samuel, Chris Godwin, George Pickens, Drake London, Christian Watson that rounds out the top 36. If you guys have any questions, we'll get to them now. I'm unfortunately not going to have a Sunday morning show like we usually do. Tomorrow, it's going to be the first one I missed since the beginning of the year. So that's kind of unfortunate, but we'll get right back to it next week. And let's just get this one from Ari real quick. Tank Dell or Devontae Smith. So I have these guys ranked very closely. Yeah, I have them ranked back to back. Tank Dell is a wide receiver 11. And I have Devontae Smith as a wide receiver 12. So I love playing both of these guys as wide receiver 1s. I want to get them both in my lineup if I can. But if I can't, I'm going to give the slight edge to Tank Dell. He's just been too good. He's been too good. Keep playing Tank Dell. Let's get this one from Silver Rapture. It is a defense question, so I don't rank defenses. I don't play in any leagues that have defenses, so take my advice here with a grain of salt. Dolphins defense going against Commanders. Jaguars defense going against the Bengals. I think that's pretty easy one. we'll play the Jaguars going against the Jake Browning offense as opposed to the Dolphins going against the Sam Howell offense. Now, I do think the Dolphins aren't the worst play, but I think I do think the Commanders are going to score a pretty decent amount of points, but we know they're susceptible to sacks and turnovers. So Dolphins aren't the worst play, but I think the Jaguars defense will probably shut down Jake Browning, probably get some sacks, get some turnovers, and I think they'll have a nice game. So definitely playing the Jaguars defense over the Dolphins defense. And that's it for the questions. We're going to get out of here. I do appreciate everybody who tuned in. Always appreciate you. Especially love the people who I see in the chat every single show. There's always some repeat viewers, and I really, really, really appreciate them. I do appreciate everybody. If I didn't get to your question, or if you have any questions, like I said, I'm not going to be doing the Sunday morning show this week. We'll get back to it next week. Just find me in the Discord. Find the link on yardsperfantasy.com. You can find my rankings on yardsperfantasy.com. Just download the Yards Per Fantasy app. We do have a start sit tool. That is, you can just plug in 2 players and it's going to tell you who I would rank higher. So check that out, yardsperfantasy.com/start-sit. And thank you guys.